Hi, I'm Joe Yudin from Touring Israel, Luxury Private Tours. And during this Corona pandemic, we thought because you can't travel to Israel, that we'd bring a little bit of Israel to you. So, for this podcast, this is our second episode. We will be bringing to you different Israeli personalities, sometimes tour guides, sometimes reporters, some of our service providers throughout the travel world. And today, we're lucky enough to have a pretty famous chef in Israel. Her name is Chef Tali Friedman. She has the Jerusalem Atelier cooking workshop right in the famous Machane Yehuda market in Jerusalem. And she does incredible uh, tasting tours in the market and cooking workshops also inside the market. She's also on the Council of Vendors. She'll talk a little bit to us about that of the Machane Yehuda market. And welcome, Chef Tali Friedman. We're really happy to have you.
Hi, Joe. How you doing? I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to see you. We all just locked down, and we are missing each other a lot. So I'm missing you, and happy to see you this morning.
Right. Oh, it's great to see you too, and great to talk to you as well. So, for people in around the world who aren't familiar with what you do here in Israel, because everyone knows you here in Israel, why don't you, start from the beginning? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I established my business in the market almost 10 years ago, but I'm a chef for almost more than 24 years now. Wow, that's long. And I've been studying in Paris and also here in Israel in Hadassah College. And to be like in the culinary city in the world and studying culinary, it was amazing for me to be in Paris. I've been there more than a year. I worked with a lot of highly and respectable chefs also around the world and here in Israel. And since I established my atelier, this is most of what I do: the culinary tours and the workshop, and just touring Machne Yehuda market, which, as you probably know, the most beautiful market that we have in Israel.
Absolutely.
Um, Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's definitely one of, if not the most beautiful markets in all of Israel, and it's very unique. I mean, there are other markets in Israel, and hopefully we can get to those as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the
Definitely.
Machane Yehuda market is probably one of the most incredible, unique markets in the entire world.
The Guardians, I think 6 months ago, located Machne Yehuda market as the third good market in the world.
Oh wow.
Like we were after Vietnam, which was one of the highlights in the world. So it's a lot of honor, and I do believe so. I do believe it's a very, very unique and beautiful market. It's the biggest market that we have in Israel, and also the oldest market that we have. It's more than 140 years old market, which means since the Turks was here, it's still survived. And of course, we have plenty more beautiful markets all over Israel. We have in Haifa and in Beersheba and in Tel Aviv and in Akko. You can see the market right now. This is just, I think, the view from my atelier. You
Right, it
see
is.
the combination of people that still lives inside the market, and it's always like a festival, just to be like a huge theater. Like something is always going on in this market, and this is the main road of the market, what we see now. But if we go inside the market, it all, yeah, wow, all the fruits and the vegetables, and to see the people, I miss this market.
So the market is closed right now. Because of the virus. However, it's kind of controversial here in Israel because the supermarkets and the little markets all around the country are still open. And being that it's somewhat of an open air market, not I don't really understand that. What's your position at the market?
The market is closed right now,
Mhm,
unfortunately, and it doesn't make any sense at all because I think all the seasonal things that you can find and you buy next to your house in your grocery, you definitely can find them in the market.
mhm.
And it's just the image of thinking about the market as a very, very crowded place to be in. But it's not like this these days. It's totally empty. There's no one in the streets, and I wish the government would allow the vendors to open their shops. Just what you really need: fruits, vegetable, meat, and fish, and things like that. So it will be equal to all the supermarkets that do still open here and doing delivery.
Mhm.
Um, but we do deliveries from the market. So
Oh,
the stores are actually closed, but they are open on the inside. No one can go in, and you can deliver everything at home. So
well, that
one thing
well,
stayed good, but still, it's so sad to see that no worms, no bombing attack has ever closed this market down, and it is
but a
closed
virus
down.
has, unfortunately. Well, hopefully we'll be over this soon, and, the market will be definitely one of the first places I go to when I get back. So let's take a step back for a second. You grew up in Jerusalem, correct? But where were your parents from? What were your culinary influences? Where did they come from your home? Was it a Middle Eastern influences? Was it more? Did you have any European influences? When did you realize that you wanted to be a chef for to make a living?
So I did grow up here in Jerusalem, but before that, I was born in the north. I was born in Sfat,
Hmm.
and lucky me, I grew up with my grandparents. And my grandmother used to know most of her time she was dedicating to her garden. She used to grow everything. She used to grow cucumbers and tomatoes and squash and zucchini and lettuce and spinach and chili pepper and pomegranates and lemon and figs. She used to have everything, and also chickens. So we used to have a very fresh eggs every morning. And my grandparents used to also make wine. So my grandmother used to make the white wine, and my grandfather used to make the red wine. And there like huge competition between them, which one was the best. Between us, none of them, but we won't tell them. So lucky me, I grew up in their house in Tzfat, and they used to host people during summertime. They had a huge house, like more than 17 different bedrooms, and people was coming to relaxation time. This is how we used to call it. And the government used to send mainly Holocaust members just to relax there in the north. So the people that used to come to my grandparents' house were coming every year, again and again and again, for 2 months, sometimes even 3 months. And my grandmother used to have a huge kitchen that was the biggest room in all of this beautiful house that they had, and everyone used to gather there, and like was the Romanian lady or the Polish lady that used to bring her recipe, and my mom and my grandmom, she brought her Moroccan recipes. I'm a mix of North Africa. Like my grandparents are from Tunisia, Morocco, and Tripoli. So a lot of good food in the house.
Absolutely.
And but I did study from all the other ladies that used to come a year after year. If it was just, pickles or the filter fish or the borscht was my favorite in summertime,
Mm,
just to drink the borscht water. It's like the best soup ever in
right.
summertime. And lucky me, I could have mixed all of this, what we call today the melting pot of the cuisine in Israel.
Right.
All
So
this culture, yeah.
Right, so exactly. So a lot of people say that, um, and this may have been true maybe 20, 30 years ago, that the Israeli food was falafel and hummus, and you couldn't get a good meal in Israel. But for many reasons, I thought, for what you just said, we have immigrants, Jewish, mostly Jewish immigrants from all over the world came to Israel, and then and brought with them their culinary traditions, as well as, once people serve in the army, and after the army they go abroad, right? And they work or they
Yeah.
travel for a year or two, and then they bring back other recipes from around the world. And the Israeli cuisine and Israeli food is really a blend of Eastern and Western tastes. Would you agree with that? Could you expand on that? Could you talk about what Israeli cuisine is? What dishes are your favorites today? What do you see in the
You know,
restaurant? What are your favorite
yeah,
restaurants?
I think, Joe, like I'm so proud to speak about the Israeli cuisine these days. Like 3 decades ago, it was the French cuisine, which was one of the highlights in the world, and 2 decades ago, it was the Californian cuisine,
Mhm.
and in the last 10 years, it's the Mediterranean cuisine, which on top of it will be the Israeli cuisine. And it is a mix of everything, of what you see just now in the picture is the bread, it's the pickled lemon, it's the good tomatoes and the olive on the olive oil that we have, and a lot of freshness in everything. And like, you don't really need to use anything while you're cooking, just the great ingredients that we have here. It's the things that grows in here, it's the quality products, what the whole world today screaming very loud, organic. So as we know, the Arabs that live around us and with us, they are doing compost and they are not screaming that very loud. So actually, it's the same as the way I grew up, like picking up from the garden. And I'm very happy to see that we are still can cook this way. And it took us a while to create a kitchen. Of course, at the beginning was the falafel and the hummus, which a lot of people would say, listen, it's not Israeli, it's Egyptian, it has different roots. It
Right.
is true. Like, no one really invented anything. Like, if we need to go through their history, and we probably reach to the Ottomanian, the Turks. They were the first that spread all the good food and all the good pastry around the world.
Right.
And each country took what was similar to our own area. And here for us, I think it's the easiest. We have in such a tiny country so different areas and different climes, so we can grow different things, and this is what we use. So I think the beginning, the blooming of the cuisine of Israel started maybe 15 years ago. And in the last 5 years, it's like it's become so, like, in Tel Aviv, the restaurants, it's amazing. You can go to each restaurant, it's such a good food. Same here in Israel, same here in Jerusalem, like
Mhm.
around the market, outside the market, everything, it tastes so good. Either if you eat it inside of a pita or like a really fine dining restaurant, it's
Right.
all good. The street food become like the highlights of Israel, and you can see it all around the world. You can see that today, no, but the Palomar and the Balagan in Paris and in London, Eyal Shani and Asaf Granit, all the highest chefs of Israel are spreading it out to the world.
Right.
And
So
I'm proud to say all the good things about it. I do believe we have great products in here, and we don't need to, get too much wild. Everything is very simple. For example, in my kitchen, it's very simple. It's what I grab from the market, I bring it to the atelier, we start cooking. Using very good olive oil, which gives most of the flavors to the food, and we don't need to use even spices, just black pepper and sea salt. And this is my base.
Mhm. I noticed that the olive oil in Israel doesn't really taste like the Spanish olive oil or the Italian olive oil or the Greek olive oil. It's very distinct. Is do you have? Is there any reason for that? As an
Uh,
aside.
I think first the Spanish and the Italians olive oil are very very good olive oil.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, what we get it's the average of what they have,
Oh,
but they do use many types as we do. We have many types of olive that gives different flavors to the food. For example, if it will be the Fichulen or the Arbakina or the Kornaiki, there are totally different types of olive. So one can be very, very grassy and spicy, and the second can be very mild and fruity and elegant. So you can find it also in Italian and in Spain. But of course, what's much more common here and less common there, it's the grassy. Like as we know in all around, we love spicy food, so the olive oil also should be very, very grassy. As much as it's grassy, this is how spicy it is.
I
Like you
see.
cannot drink it. It's sometimes like a good, very good, strong vodka can be like.
I see.
But this is the grassy flavors of the olive
Okay.
oil, which I
So
also love.
let's talk a little bit about, excuse me, your tasting tour and your cooking workshop. When I first went on your tasting tour we did. I was actually, it must have been 10 years ago. I was working for another company for some special tour, a mission, a group of UJA contributors, and you took them on a tasting tour, and then we went up to your rooftop, and we had a meal. And you and I talked a little bit about doing a cooking workshop, and then we started doing those cooking workshops for families. And I got to tell you, it's been the highlight of every single family that's done your tasting tour and cooking workshop with you, and also your with Yossi, who we just saw in that picture, your sous chef Yossi. There he is, and
Yeah.
everyone who's done this has said that was not only the highlight of my Israel trip, but it was one of the best meals that I've ever had in my life. So
Wow.
where did you get the idea for that? How did it start? How do you choose which vendors to go to in the market, which has hundreds of different vendors,
Yeah.
and you pick the top 5 or 10 of them before you do your cooking workshop, and and tell us how you got into your cooking workshop. Maybe you could walk us through it. And what's your future? Do you want to do online cooking classes? Maybe we can do that together. I'd be more than happy to do that with you. But can tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that whole process.
So I think I truly believe like all the good things start by you know an accident, a coincidence. So I was teaching cooking and baking something like almost 15 years ago, and with my first student we reached to fish lesson, which is my favorite. I love cooking fish and talking about fish as well. And spontaneously, I just grabbed them and I said, listen, we are not going to stay in the classroom anymore. We'll go to Machne Yehuda market and we'll talk about fish. They looked at me like I'm totally crazy. Who wants to go to the market? It was almost just after the bombing attack that we used to have in Machne Yehuda in Jerusalem. So people didn't
Which
want to
which
go to the
hasn't happened
market.
in over a decade. I just want to say those attacks
More,
are
more than a
long in our
decade.
past.
Yes, we use.
Okay,
This is what I'm saying. We've been going through wars and bombing attack, but nothing. It's just like what we are facing today. So
right,
it feels like it's so light and easy talking about what was 15, 17 years ago,
right.
but it was there. And I grabbed them through, and we went through the market, and like what I did with you for the first time for 1.5 hour, I did with them for more than 6 hours,
Wow.
just letting them everything, all the knowledge that I have about cheese and fruits and how they grow and when and the seasons and spices and things like that. And I was just like, magnetizing to the market and to the vendor. So it took me a day to realize that this is where I want to be. I just want to be in this market. And I started to create this culinary tour, and it just was, rumors. People will start talking about it, and I started to get calls from people, can you give me a tour? And I said, I didn't expect that coming, because I was just teaching baking and cooking. But all of a sudden it starts, and I felt like other people getting magnetizing to this market and to the vendors. um, and I started to have an interactions with the vendors and ask their permission to go inside and teach people and explain people what they see, and sometimes to taste some of the things. And this is how we create a culinary tasting tour in Machne Yehuda. And after a few years, I opened the atelier. I found the right spot in the market. It's all about the location. Like, you
Absolutely
can
beautiful
see
spot.
all the
Absolutely.
market, and see Jerusalem from the rooftop. And I decided that my kitchen will stay very simple. From one side, it's like, it seems like it's complicated, but it's not. It's just the products that were brought from the market, and less than an hour we have a meal of between 5 to 7 different courses. And just the interaction of being with the people in the kitchen and cooking with them, either if it's a family, or just people that comes to have a good time, and enjoying themselves. Everyone enjoying being in the kitchen, small children, adults, and even the grandparents that arrives like 80 and 70, see them slicing and cutting, and it's so beautiful to see, and it opens everything, and it opens the heart. And to hear that this is their highlights, I'm very flattered. But I have to say that this is the market, and also the simple things in life, like seeing children happy because they are cutting apples. So simple, and just the fact that they can be together with their parents and the people that they love. There's nothing more important than that. And now we are all in our houses, and we can all cook together and not coming to the atelier right now. So yeah, maybe we'll do some recipes before Pesach next week. We should.
Yeah, you should definitely do some Passover online cooking workshops, and anything we can do to help, we would love it. So, what's the future of the market? I know the market is going through a lot of changes now. When you go at night, especially on a Thursday night, or Wednesday or Thursday night, that all the vendors close, and all of a sudden pubs pop up all over the place. Eh, what's going on in the market at
Yeah.
night?
So actually, in the last 5 years already, most of the nightlife of Jerusalem gathered to inside the market. So where people go out in Jerusalem, it's mainly to Machne Yehuda market at night, when the vendors close their shops. Bar, tapas bar, small cafes, restaurants, live music. Like, it's all waking up totally, totally different. And it's really beautiful to see it. And we also managed to balance it in the last 10 months now, to balance between the nightlife of the market and the day life of the market. So it will work very well together. And today no, but a few weeks ago, if you would have come to the market, like, it will be the fun place to be in, just drinking a beer, having some ceviche on the side, or carpaccio, or some snack, and just enjoying the atmosphere of the market. So it is also very, very beautiful to see how life is changing. And I really hope that when this coronavirus will be just behind us, we'll go back to where we stopped. And I believe, truly believe, this is the wish of every one of us, that it won't be different. And if it will be different, it won't be very complicated. So we will be able to fix everything very, very fast. And, you know, this is, I think, what it's all about. It's who we are, and the way we believe. This is how it affects our life. So when the coronavirus will be after us, we just need to, jump in and start doing what we love to do, and there will be a blooming all over again, and you'll see a beautiful market, and we'll see nature waiting for us, really, really waiting for us all around the world.
So I know one of your new projects is that you have a food truck that you take all over Israel in some beautiful settings. Can you tell us a little bit about that project that you're doing?
That's, yeah, this is exactly where we stopped in talking about the nature that we have here around us. And the food truck, it's you can bring it almost everywhere in the country, and just doing a very unique and different dinner or lunch outside at the desert or the Golan Heights. And we just pump up from nowhere, and we just start cooking. And as because of this beautiful, I love this food truck. We have everything inside. It's like a petite kitchen that has the plancha and the oven and the frying thing. So it's like taking all the kitchen with me, and taking and bringing the market with me to the desert, to the Golan Heights, to I don't know, the mountains around Jerusalem.
Jezreel Valley.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah. um, and and that's it. And just to enjoy good food and the beautiful view and the nature that we have around
Right.
us.
I know once you and I did an event, 2 events, I believe, in New York, one in New York City and one in Scarsdale, New York, where we went to people who had been on the workshop. We went to their house, and you
Oh, I
cooked up
miss them.
incredible meal, a cocktail party, and had all of your former clients over and some potential new ones, and it was a lot of fun. You know, if someone wants to have you come to their home in the States or wherever around the world, is that an option? Would you take, some of your people and go to the local farmers markets and say New York or Pennsylvania or Florida or wherever, and or the Hamptons, and do a meal for a private party?
Of course, I'm just waiting to the airport to open up. And the first thing I would love to do is just, going directly to New York and see the people that I do love, and I miss them a lot.
Here's the one we did in
All of
Scarsdale. This is the one we did.
Oh, we had white tuna with what is it? Pomegranates and chili
Right,
pepper.
right, right.
Wow, that was amazing.
It
Yes,
was.
cooking there, it was awesome.
Well,
Wow.
thank you, Tali. I mean, it's very informative. I'm really, really happy and honored that you would do this for us. Really, it's only our second episode. We're just getting started, but I'm definitely interested in maybe doing an online cooking workshop with you. We should uh, uh, perhaps talk to Jono, who's our tech guy behind the scenes, and a new Condé Nast Traveler Israel expert for 2020. There he is, Jono, not only our technical guru,
Jono.
but a travel
Hi.
expert himself. So I want to thank you, Jono. Thank you, Tali. I really appreciate it. And hopefully tourism will be back soon, and we'll see you again in person soon. And now I'm going to go eat because you made me really hungry.
Oh, so I'm sending you, both of you, my love, and
Thank
I do miss you. And if we'll do something, I have you have to cook with me.
Oh, absolutely. Always.
Absolutely. Great. So, okay, we'll be separate, but we will still be cooking together.
Okay, well, happy Passover, and I will
Happy
definitely talk to
Passover.
you soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe and Jono. Missing you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.